Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video.
Okay, so today I'm going to make a snowflake, and I started out by taking a chenille stem and cutting it in half. And you can see I've already cut another one in half. Okay, and then I'm going to take the three of them, push my beads out a little bit, kind of lay them like I think I'd want them. I'm going to take a length of this very thin, fine wire. It's so fine I'm not sure that you'll be able to see it. And I'm going to cut it off. And I would say that's probably about 8 inches. You certainly can trim it down but not add any more. And then I'm feeding a little pearl bead onto it. And about somewhere around halfway. So we've got a little pearl bead on the middle of that. And then I'm going to take a small snowflake bead, and I'm going to feed both ends of the wire through that. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to take a larger snowflake beads, also called sunburst beads. So I have like that. Then I'm going to separate my wires, and I am going to put that right over my snowflake spokes that I made out of the chenille stems, and I'm going to weave that wire around because this is what's going to hold my snowflake together. So I'm just kind of weaving that around, then I'll twist it when I get to the other one. Weave the other length of wire around and play with it a little bit. Come to the back side, and my object here was to get these tied together. And then on this side I am going to put my big snowflake bead on both of the wires. And I didn't get that one yet. So we put the big snowflake bead on the two wires. And then we'll use the small snowflake bead. Okay. I'm going to feed the pearl onto both wires as well. Here we go. Okay. And then I'm going to take those ends and poke them back down through my small snowflake bead. I'm going to tighten that up best I can. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of twist those wires together a little bit, and I'm going to feed them up one of the spokes of my chenille stem. It's not going to really show in there, and so there I have my spokes and my little there I have my spokes on both sides with a pearl bead up between them. So you can play with that a little bit because it is wires, so it's easy to play with. And then I'm going to start with a pearl bead on each one of these spokes. The holes in the pearls are a little bit smaller, but they're plenty big enough to go on. You just need to spend a little time feeding them on. There we go. So we're going to put one of those on each one of our spokes. And this part's kind of random. Could do any design you want, depending on what beads you have. So I have all my pearls, and I'm going to slide them right down to the middle on. And this is the one that I had those wires on, so I'm going to try to go right over the top of those wires for my center and feed that right down in as best as I can. And then I'll slide this one down and that one down to the center. Okay, so we've got, okay, so I've got my pearl, and then a round bead that was 8mm, a small snowflake, and then a set of 3 of the 12mm snowflakes or starburst. And then I'm going to go back to this just this faceted 8mm bead. So I have those all beaded up the way I wanted to, and I've got one that's a little bit longer, so I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to take my thin wire and I'm going to cut a little piece off of that, because this is going to end up serving as my hanger, and fold that in half, or just get the 2 ends together and give it a little bit of a twist. And so I have my little piece of wire here, and I'm going to take this one that's a little bit longer, and I'm just going to wrap the wire around it a couple of times, and then I get the other end and I'm going to wrap the wire around it again a couple more times. And then I'll go ahead and push my bead on. Okay. Now you see some of them, there's too much chenille stem on them, and there's a couple others that are just about right. But I'm going to go ahead and take my little cutters here, and I'm going to trim them up close to the end. All the way around. So that one doesn't really need it. Okay, so I've trimmed all of those, but that's going to hold those beads on. I want to be a little bit more secure, so I am going to take my glass plate that I like gluing on. So I'm going to put my glass plate on here underneath. Take a little bit of my trusty glue here that I like using. This is a craft bond glue. I got way too much out. I put my craft bond glue out, and I have a little bit of a... So we've got some glue here and a little paintbrush, and then I'm going to take these pearl beads off one at a time, and I'm going to paint some glue onto that chenille stem. This is just going to give our snowflake a little bit of added security. So go ahead and paint that on, and then I will put that bead back on. It doesn't want to roll away from me here. And it might help you to have a baby wipe handy so you can get the glue kind of off your fingers. This is the one with the hanger, so we'll pull that one off. Coat our chenille stem with glue. And I suppose you could pick it up and just dip it into the glue if you wanted to. And then I'll put my bead back on. Again, I got some glue on my fingers, maybe more glue than I wanted to, so I'm using that baby wipe to clean that up with. Okay, so I have glued that all the way around. I am going to let it dry before I hang it up, but I'll give you a couple of tips while we're letting that set up. If you don't know what your design is, it's a good idea to take the shortest spoke and lay your beads out on it and see what your design is. And then when I did mine, because I knew what the beads were going to be, I go all the way around. So I do one out, the shortest one out the way I want it, and then I would start with the inner beads all on the remaining 5 spokes, one at a time. And that way you won't lose count of them. But again, start with a short spoke, figure out your design, and then repeat it on the rest. And I think it's better to, after you've got your starting one, to go ahead and finish up all the way around.